Okay, so the intermediate value theorem says if f of x is continuous on a closed interval from a to b, and f of a and f of b have opposite signs, then there exists at least one value of c between them so that f of c is equal to 0. So let's go ahead and unpack this. Let's first talk about what it means for f of x to be continuous from a to b. What that means is that it's some kind of smooth curve. It doesn't matter what it looks like as long as between any 2 points, including a and including b, there are no breaks or no jumps of the graph. Both of these examples would be continuous. If for any reason there was some kind of a break or a hole in the graph, where now the graph went like this and then down, the graph here on the left-hand side, this graph is continuous. This graph over here is not continuous. Or we would say it is discontinuous. So what does the second part say? The second part says that where f of a and f of b have opposite signs. All right, that means some value f of a could be positive, and then f of b would have to be negative. And remember, that means the y value in this case, that would mean a positive y, and this would be a negative y. It could also be switched. So f of a could be negative and f of b would be positive. And then the last piece of this says there must be one value of c so that f of c is 0. That means it's going to cross the x-intercept. All right, so let's go ahead and take a picture of what all of this looks like and put it all together. So we have a continuous function on the interval anywhere going from a to b. Now this is a closed interval, so that means that at those points it has to exist. Now, let's say this is an example when f of a, remember f of a would just take that value, let's say that was a 1, and that would be a positive. That means it would be up here somewhere. And then down here, f of b, let's call this in this case 5, that would have a negative output. So let's say it's down here. And then when I draw my graph in, this graph would look something like this. So that last piece says that when one f of a and f of b have different signs, it means there's at least one value of x that is equal to c, where f of c will equal 0, meaning maybe c in this case would be 4. That just says that there exists an x value that it will cross the x-axis and have in a 0. Now, these numbers, 1, 4, and 5, those are just examples. This would be true for any real number as long as this was a closed interval on both ends. Those could not be open circles. And the reason that is I have to have f of a and f of b equal a value, so therefore they cannot be undefined at that point. The same thing could happen the other way. Let's say I started down here, only now this was some value, a, and I have a different value over here, b, And now my function goes like this. Again, somewhere in between a and b, there exists a value c in between that will cross the x-axis.